Good morning, beautiful wise. We are here today, almost done. Last week of our Respect Dare 40 days to a deeper connection with God and our husbands. I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to hear about how this journey has been for you. Please give me some feedback. I know I've gotten some feedback along the way from a lot of you. So I can't wait to hear how you finish this journey. All right, so today we are on Dare 37, and it's called Just Go. You also, as living stones, are being built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices accepted to God through Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 2 5. And on this there, this is another sad one. This woman is standing there by the hospital bed of her father, holding his hand, and her mom is very frail. You know, her mom, who's a very strong woman, is very frail in that moment. Obviously, she's losing her life partner, right? They spent a whole life together, and it says here, this is what really caught my attention. It says here, later, in looking back, she realized that it was the first time she could say that she was filled with the compassion of God. Literally absent were all the thoughts about her well being and her own loss. And this to me was very, very powerful, because it helps us understand what truly the compassion of God is and what it feels like. It's not that she is neglecting her own pain and her own loss. That's not the case. But she's so filled with compassion for her mom, who lost her life partner, who lost the father of her children, who lost the man who did life with her entire life, pretty much. You know, her feeling of compassion for her mother was greater than the feeling that she had for her own loss. So therefore, the thoughts of her own loss were absent in that moment, you know, and she felt peace, and she felt she didn't feel pain, you know, because compassion comes with peace, right? Compassion is not merely you know, feeling sympathetic for somebody else, right? Compassion is to be so filled with a divine feeling, with a divine emotion, that everything else is absent, you know. And that description to me is profound. You know, I'm not even sure we can wrap our minds around it. It's profound. You know, and looking back, I had a time where I had this feeling, and it was also for my mother. And in that moment, I was so consumed by, you know, this emotion that at the time I couldn't tell what it was, you know. But everything else was absent, because that was consuming me in that moment, you know. And so yeah, you know, I just love the description of compassion. I just love how Jesus, everything he did for us, you know, he did it out of love and compassion. You know, it is a feeling that consumes, you know, and everything else is absent. The selflessness is so great that anything about ourselves is simply absent, you know. And that is amazing to me, you know. Yeah, I think that this morning when I was reading that, I was taken to a new level of revelation on this whole compassion thing. The bottom line says the more time you spend with God, the more you take on his character and his thoughts about what actually matters. True selflessness is a reflection of God's character, and it comes only as a result of spending time with him. And, I think that a lot of times, even in churches, we say, oh, but it's hard to let go of this, and it's hard to let go of that, and it's hard to live this way, and it's hard to live the other way. It's so hard, to deal with my husband. It's so hard to do this and that. I think that, and I say this with all my love, I say this with a lot of fear of God, and I say this to myself first before even saying it to anybody else. I think that when we say that, when things feel hard to us, it's because we're not filled with this compassion. We're not filled with this selflessness that removes everything else for that time being. We are not filled with this love of Jesus for our husbands that makes our own thoughts absent, and I think that that's a place where we should aim to be, this place where we are so filled with love and compassion for our husbands that our own thoughts of our own well-being are absent, because guess who takes care of our well-being when we are so filled with compassion? God does, right? And that compassion always comes with so much peace and so much selflessness. I mean, there is no other way to put it. So I just thought that was a beautiful way to put that today. So what about you? Go back to the beginning of the book and review what you have written along the way. If you're using a little notebook, go back to your notebook, read the notes that you've written every day. If you're going like me and doing the little post-its, read what you have wrote it, throughout the way, as I was doing that, I noticed that there were some dares that really marked me, and it didn't just mark me for what I did, but it marked me for how it helped me renew my mind, and God is infinite and he's limitless. Therefore, the amount of mind renewal that we can have until, we are thinking 100% like him is very much infinite, right? Jesus is going to come back and we're still going to be doing that, so we can never have our minds too renewed. Whenever we renew, there is more, right? So, and I love that about God, I love that there is no limit. I love that there is no end. I love that he is so great. It's, we can't even wrap our minds around. And then it talks about, what was your favorite part of it? Like, what was the most rewarding part of this journey for you so far? And I have to say, guys, that it really has been to do it with you. I love our WhatsApp group and the conversations we have there. I love all of you that send me messages individually, letting me know how this is going for you. I know that all of you are not in the group, and you can join if you would like. You don't have to, but I love receiving your messages. I love seeing how this is growing you and your marriage. And I love seeing how God works in layers, in our lives, even in my own life. And I love seeing the growth that I've had since I first did this, and, from every time. And I love seeing the growth that I'm having now, so that to me is rewarding, So anyways, there is a challenge here for us today, which is to read chapter 28 of Deuteronomy, which talks about the blessings and the curses, and then The challenge is that there is to ask God and pray for clarity in understanding why there are consequences for poor choices. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. So if you would please share it with me. Yeah, and I will see you tomorrow for our next dare. Bye bye.